Hey guys, what is up? My name is Eric, also known as Aviator, and I'm coming at you live from my home here in Central Florida. Now, every week I get to come to you guys and bring you something new, something different, and I'm really excited about this week's video simply because it's not a Music Monday, it's not one of my normal adventure Saturdays. This is something completely different. I'm going to be doing a gameplay commentary for you guys. Now, if you're a fan of my channel, you know I haven't done one of these in literally ages. I've been so busy doing these Music Mondays and whatnot that I haven't had time to make you guys an actual kind of normal commentary. So last week I asked you what you wanted to hear most, whether it was my epic motorcycle trip to Alaska where I was basically on the road for 4 months, 14,000 miles, crazy shenanigans I should say. I wrecked 2 bikes, hung out with movie stars, really a cool trip. Or if you wanted to hear more about my ultralight flight, which I took from South Florida to Northwest Arkansas, huge long trip when I was 16 years old. Now, according to all of you, you wanted to hear more about the ultralight trip, which tells me that apparently motorcycles aren't quite your speed. And I don't understand that because that trip to me was insane, but hey, you know, there's no accounting for taste, if you know what I mean. No, I was kidding. Guys, it's awesome having you here. I am going to be sharing more about the ultralight trip, and I think you're going to enjoy it. I only was able to fit the first 2 stops into this video because I wanted to explain a bit of the backstory, but I will hopefully be bringing you guys part 2 and 3 of this series soon. So without further ado, let me explain what you're going to be watching, the gameplay side, and what I'm going to be doing this following week, which might keep me from you a bit more than normal. So first things first, the gameplay is a 46-5 gameplay, I think, on headquarters. We're playing on Stockpile, and I'm playing with legends. Now, if you guys have ever played with some of these huge YouTube legends like Hutch, Onslaught, Socrates, it's intimidating. And if I ever did well with all when I was playing with them, I always felt great. When I led the lobby like this game, I felt like a hero. So I hope you guys will enjoy it. But anyway, guys, it's been a blast. I hope you'll enjoy the film. This following week, actually in about an hour, I'm looking at my invisible watch, in about an hour I'm leaving with my wife, my brother and his wife for a kind of extended baby moon. We're headed up to a small private island in North Florida just to kind of get away from civilization and just have some nice peaceful time. So I'm going to be recording some video while I'm up there. I'm planning to do a tour of the island, maybe take you guys fishing with us. But yeah, let me know if you guys like that idea. I'd love to share some stuff with you. Anyway, I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See you later.
Hey guys, as you now know, today I'm going to be sharing the story of my epic little ultralight adventure that I took when I was just 16 3/4 years old from South Florida to Northwest Arkansas, flying I believe 1,800 miles or so in a tiny little ultralight called a Rans S14. Now before I get ahead of myself, I want to take just a couple of minutes to explain how I got in this position, how I was able to first off be allowed to fly this airplane, be allowed to fly it from South Florida all the way up to Northwest Arkansas, and why my parents were crazy enough to let me do so. So let me start at the beginning of this story. I'm going to take you guys back to an age of 3, okay? I know this is kind of a way back story here, but when I was 3 years old, my very first memory was actually of me flying. I was flying with my uncle and my grandfather. They're both great pilots. We were doing aerobatics up in a Blanca Super Viking. One of my favorite airplanes in the world to this day. It's still kind of goofy looking, but man, that thing flew great. So at the age of 3, I'm flying with them. My mom was a pilot. My grandmother was a pilot. My grandfather was a pilot. My uncle still is a pilot. My cousin's a pilot. We all like to fly, right? My whole life, I grew up in this aviation family, and I knew that whenever I turned 16 years old, I wanted to fly. That's what I wanted more than anything. But when I was 13, I discovered something. I found out that there was this new breed of aircraft, which mind you, they weren't really new. They started back in the 70s, but there was this new breed of aircraft to me called ultralights. Now ultralights, you didn't have to be 16 to fly. At 13 years old, I could fly it legally. I could hop in this thing, go out, fly around, whatever, have a blast. I didn't have to wait. So it became my passion. I did everything that I could to own one of these, to have this be in my life. I had to do it. So I went out and I found the only thing I could afford. Now mind you, I worked to be able to afford this. My grandmother had a restaurant. I washed dishes. I cooked steaks. I cooked tomatoes. I became a baller in the kitchen. To this day, ask my wife, I'm one heck of a cook. Anyway, after working in the kitchen, I had the money to buy this little airplane called a Team Minimax, all right? Now the Minimax aircraft was a really cool plane. It was all wood. It was something I could build myself because growing up, I'd work with wood a lot. My dad was a good woodworker, and I knew that I could actually do this too. So I bought the tail kit, and I thought, hey, I'm gonna build this tail. It's gonna be great. And about 10 hours in, I discovered that there are about 60,000 little wooden pieces in this box. and I had to put them all together just so that I didn't fall out of the sky. Now, me being the ADD, ADHD kid that I was, I immediately said, well, that's too much work for me. I'm going to sell this thing. Now, I just discovered the interwebs. That's right, I said interwebs. The internet was new, right? No one was really selling that much stuff online. This was 1999, and I discovered a small website called barnstormers2000.com that had airplanes for sale. So I listed my tail kit. And within days, it sold. The guy that I bought it from said, hey, you sold that tail kit really quickly. Can I have you sell some things for me on this new thing called the internet? At the time, I think he was around 70 years old. The internet was literally like completely foreign to a 70-year-old back in 1999. So I said, sure, give me 10%. And that's how it started. I started selling airplanes for this guy left and right. It was really, really cool. From there, it spread. Different people asked me to broker their aircraft sale, to be their broker, to sell things for them. And that's how I fell into this deal. All right, a gentleman in South Florida, I can't remember what the name of the town was, but down in South Florida, asked me to sell his Rans S14. Now, the Rans S14 was kind of considered to be one of the Cadillacs of ultralights, kind of something that was really spiffy, special, little high-end, really cool aircraft. Did a whopping 65 miles an hour. Oh yeah, baby, it was screaming. I listed this airplane for sale. I found a guy up in Arkansas who was desperate for it. He wanted to own it. Only problem was he was in Arkansas. This was in Florida. I said, hey, no problem. My cousin's a pilot. I'm a pilot. One of us will fly it up there for you. Now, of course, I'm thinking to myself, my cousin's almost 18. His parents will let him fly up there, no worries. There's no way my parents ever will. What I didn't think through was the fact that this was going to be September, and he was in school. I was homeschooled. It was easy for me to get away. So after some time passed, I guess I had the airplane in my possession for about 2 weeks, I asked my parents, I said, hey, would you mind if I flew this airplane from here to Northwest Arkansas? They said, sure thing. I was literally appalled. My parents have always been pretty protective and whatnot. They let me, make mistakes. They let me go through life in the different ways. It was great having them as parents, but I never had this big of an adventure on my own before. It was really cool. So I started planning. I spent a month planning this trip. I kid you not, a month. I took every map I could find of the route I would be taking. Now, here's a couple of the maps I was looking at, just to give you guys an idea. Every single stop along the way was charted. Every piece of airspace that I couldn't fly into was charted. I had to know, because back in the day, there weren't GPSs that would just warn you. All right, if you wanted to buy a GPS that would warn you of airspace, that if you're gonna fly over an Air Force base and they're gonna shoot you down, basically, it was about $10,000. Now, as a 16-year-old kid, I obviously didn't have $10,000 to spend on a little GPS unit that would do that for me, so I did it the old-fashioned way. I got a compass, I got these maps, I worked my butt off. I planned 18 stops for a 20-hour flight because this airplane only has a 5-gallon fuel tank. So you had to stop every hour where you ran out of gas. Every stop along the way was crazy. This story could literally go on for probably 45 minutes, but I want to take just the first 2 stops, all right? The first stop was pretty uneventful. The second stop was much less uneventful. First stop, 40 miles away from my first takeoff. I left early in the morning. I landed, I refueled, no one was there, I took off. Next stop, I got to Perry, Florida. Now, Perry, Florida is an old B-17 bomber base. Really cool, right? Huge base. 10,000-foot runways, if I recall correctly, in a gigantic triangle. Now, this ultralight takes about 100 feet to take off and land. It doesn't take much. Me being the responsible pilot I am, I land at the end of the runway. And I realize I now have to taxi 1.5 miles, almost 2 miles, back to the front ramp where everyone is. Now, mind you, for each of these stops, I called ahead to make sure I could buy gas for this airplane because it doesn't take regular airplane gas. It took car gas. So I call ahead. They say, oh yeah, you can buy car gas here. I land at the end of the runway. I realize that I have to taxi 2 miles back, so I take off again, fly all the way down the taxiway to where everyone else is parked, land again, and realize there's no one there except for the fire department. Now, the fire department was cool, right? They're Podunk County, Florida. This is not the name of the county, but it is really, really southern over there, all right? The guy's outside of the fire department with his bow and arrow, and he's shooting at a deer. Now, it's a 3D target of a deer, and he's right by the runway shooting at this deer. It was hilarious. I pull up, I jump out of the airplane, I'm saying, hey, do you guys know where I can get gas? They said, yeah, over there. I said, no, not avgas. I need car gas, 93 octane car gas for this motor. Oh, well, you can go up there to the BP. It's about 3.5 miles away. I said, oh, is there any way you could get me a ride? Of course, being in the South, the beautiful thing about Southerners is that most of them really are as nice as they make them out to be in the movies. These guys loaded me up in the fire truck and drove me to the gas station. Now, to this day, I have not understood why but for whatever reason, they did not make me prepay when I pulled up to the pump. And they looked at me kind of funny when I got 5 gallons of 93 octane in this gigantic diesel fire truck. But hey, it was pretty entertaining. And long story short, after I got gas, we're driving back to the airport and they start telling me all the different ways that you could fool fire inspectors into believing that the fire was real if you ever wanted to cheat on your insurance. So just in case anybody ever needs that information, I won't share it with you, but I know it and it's pretty cool. Oh man. So on the way back to the airport, they're telling me all about this different things, fire this, fire that, how to get away with this, how do we get away with that. And I look up and there's this giant pillar of smoke and I go, can I go? And I said, nope, we'll get in trouble. So that's the end of the first leg of this journey, guys. This has been almost 9 minutes of conversation with you. I wish I could talk more about it, but because I have to keep my videos somewhat short, I hope you guys have enjoyed it. And I guess I'll talk to you all soon.
Hey guys, just one more thing. If you don't mind taking just a minute to rate this video, leave me a like, leave me a comment. I like to get feedback from you every week. It's the most important thing you can do for me. Also, if you don't mind, let me know what your thoughts are on whether or not I take this video camera with me up to the island, what kind of a video you really want from that. It is a small, tiny... My neighbor's speakers just turned on. My neighbor's sprinklers just turned on. Anyway, it's a small little island. I think you guys will enjoy it. And yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. I'll talk to you soon.
My love, please won't you stand? Be strong now like I know you can. I can't seem to find my gun. Must have put it down on the old tin trunk. But don't you think about now all the bad things we have done.